All right. Good morning, everyone from Singapore. Good evening or good afternoon, depending on when you are. I am Santiago Brand, and I'm happy to be here with you once again to talk about an introduction to biofeedback. If you're here, you've come to the right place. And today I want to talk to you for a few minutes about the benefits of introducing biofeedback to your mental health, mental wellness, well being practice, and why you want to use this tool as part of your arsenal of interventions. I've been in the field for 15 years now, and I find it extremely helpful and extremely valuable for different reasons that we're going to explore in the next few minutes, as I said. So, with that in mind, for today, the objectives are to list the benefits of offering biofeedback and neurofeedback. Why you want to use neurofeedback and biofeedback in your practice. That we're going to describe the different modalities for biofeedback and what they're useful for, and identify how you can become certified. Of course, it's in our best interest that you become board certified, which adds to your reputation and your capabilities as a professional, and also explain solutions and services that you can obtain through InMindOut and Successful Practitioner. So, what are the benefits of adding biofeedback and neurofeedback? First of all, is the future of health and wellness. Biofeedback and neurofeedback are evidence-based training intervention modalities. So this is not something new. This is not something that it's a sort of in fashion at the moment. It's something that it's been in existence for about 20 to 30 years, and it's going to be in existence for a long time. And that's because the research gets better, and the development and the creation of technology also gets better. The most interesting, or one of the most interesting aspects of what we do, is that we involve the technology, use technology, state-of-the-art technology, to help people optimize their wellness and their well-being. So the good thing is that biofeedback and neurofeedback have grown in popularity, as I said. More and more people want to learn about it. More and more people want to use it as part of their interventions. Because technology it's being an important part of our lives, we can use these modalities, cell phones, wearables, Fitbits, whatever you can think of is technology involved, and that has also impacted health in a rather positive way. So we can use specific technology to teach people to optimize their wellness, their well-being, their brain waves, their breathing, their heart rate in a very efficient way. Okay. And obviously, if you get certified, you're adding to your reputation in that you're proving to your clients and to the field in general that you have done your due diligence in learning this properly, in getting supervised, in taking the necessary steps to ensure that you are and you're engaging in this in a responsible and ethical manner. What are some of the benefits of biofeedback training? Well, first of all, we can help reduce stress. Stress is being part of the human condition, as part of everyday life. We all get stressed to varying degrees. And as mental health practitioners, it's very likely that we see clients or patients who have very high stress levels, and that's negatively impacting their quality of life. So, of course, it makes sense to introduce tools that can help the client self-regulate more efficiently, and biofeedback is one of those tools. Through the use of technology, we can reduce the stress response by enhancing self-efficacy and self-regulation. We can teach the client to more efficiently self-regulate from a psychological perspective and a physiological perspective. And that hopefully brings the reduction or sometimes the resolution of the symptoms of the condition or conditions that person is presenting with. So that's very, very important. It's also an important learning tool because it enhances self-awareness. It's crucial that the client learns to read themselves more efficiently. And once they're done in the work that we do with them and then go back into the real world on their own, in a way, they can learn to implement the skills that we teach them at any place and any time. And they can do it without needing to rely on the clinician and without the reliance on the technology. Now they can read their own bodies and their own minds, become more self-aware, and that empowers them to practice and hopefully be okay on their own. With that in mind, let's talk about some of the modalities of biofeedback. There's different modalities that we can use in tandem. We can use it at the same time during a session, or we can use them individually. And the beautiful thing about this is that they all have an impact on different areas of wealth and health, wealth in terms of your well-being. And what we do is we work with psychophysiological signals, meaning we take a state-of-the-art technology, we place sensors on your body in a non-invasive way, and we're looking at how your psychological processing, your psychological stress impacts your physical stress. And also the other way around, how your physical stress impacts your psychological well-being. So what we're doing essentially is merging these two parameters, and we're helping you flank and tackle the problem from both ends. And to do that, we can use your heart rate, we can use your skin conductance, which is the sweating response from the tip of the fingers or the palm of the hand. We use peripheral temperature, which teaches a person how to increase or reduce blood flow to the hands or the feet. We can use the blood volume pulse, your respiration rate, your EEG activity, your brainwave activity, your brain electrical patterns, and we can also work with your muscles. All of these have a benefit and an objective, which is to work on the symptom, work on the condition, and help you feel better. Whatever feeling better means to you as an individual, and whatever feeling better means to us as clinicians. And as I was saying, we have an individual, and of course, the individual has a psychological component, which is cognitive and emotional. And then we have a physiological component, which is the physical manifestation of that. And the individual gets either negatively impacted or positively impacted by both components. Again, when we have psychological stress, we're thinking about something that is not nice, that is not pleasant, that it's creating a lot of stress. What we are essentially doing is creating stressful thoughts and negative thoughts. And that has some physiological consequences because we're secreting cortisol into our body, we're secreting stress hormones, and that's going to increase the heart rate. It's going to make our breathing more shallow and faster. It's going to tense up the muscles. And then we have the perfect combination, the perfect recipe for disaster. And that means that over time, if the person has no control, does not have the knowledge and the skill level to put a stop to this, they're going to get ill. They're going to come down with migraines. They're going to come down with gastrointestinal disorders. They're going to come down with autoimmune disorders. Whatever you can think of, the individual is going to be impacted psychologically, anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, and then physically in ways that I have been describing all along. So with biofeedback and neurofeedback, what we're doing is implementing the technology to make it visible for an individual, but also for them to learn how to efficiently cope with this. We're not curing anything. We're just teaching the individual to use the power of the healing response, the power of the body and the power of the mind and the brain to cope more efficiently and bring about a different result in their biochemistry, in their neurophysiology, in their psychophysiology, in their metabolism, which then brings a positive resolution or at least an improvement, an optimization in their general well-being, in their quality of life. And to us, that's very important. And as always, it has to do with the level of arousal. The higher the arousal is for an individual, it's more hindering for their performance and their quality of life. And of course, to the other end of the scale, when the person's arousal is very low, meaning they're unmotivated, they're tired, they're apathetic, that also is going to have a negative impact on their performance and their well-being. And with the tools that we have in hand with neurofeedback and biofeedback, plus our talent and skills as clinicians, we can bring that to an optimal level of function. We can get the person to perform and feel well most of the time to cope with stress and to be more resilient to the negative elements of everyday life. Now, that doesn't mean that stress is not there. That doesn't mean that we're looking at the world through rose-colored glasses, but it means that the person has a more robust ability to cope with stressors and to not let things scale and get out of hand into some kind of illness or disease. With that in mind, then, let's talk about what biofeedback is. First of all, when we do biofeedback and neurofeedback, we want to do an assessment. We want to bring the client, have the client come into our office and understand them more profoundly. Normally, the traditional course is I do an interview, I talk to the person, I talk to the family, I run some paper and pencil psychometric testing, I use online tools. Now, all of those things are useful, but they don't have the depth that a QEEG brain map and a psychophysiological stress profile have. So these tools are adding to the depth and quality and wealth of information we can obtain from a client. It can learn us understand the client more objectively, and it can help the client understand themselves more objectively. The two main tools that we want to use are the EEG, more specifically a QEEG, a qualitative encephalogram, also called a brain map, which looks at the electrical brain patterns of the brain or the brain waves. And this gives us a huge amount of information on the client and their brain. It can help us understand why the client is coming to see us, why they're feeling the way they're feeling, why they're acting the way they're acting, why they're thinking the way they're thinking. So it helps provide objective answers. And that is a very powerful tool. And obviously, it's quite confusing to the clients when we see all these squiggly lines. They start asking what they mean. And obviously, as the clinician, as a newcomer to the field, you're going to be asking, what does it mean? Well, that's what we're here to do. And at the end of the presentation, I'm going to run it by you how to get certified, how you can learn this wonderful stuff, what kind of technology you need to acquire for this, and reinforce the notion of why it is important for us to use these technological tools. To me, EEG and QEEG is so important that I'm appalled that it is not part of every single mental health practitioner tool or backup tools. And what I mean by that is I think QEEG should be required when you go into mental health. If you go to a psychiatrist, if you go to a psychologist, if you're looking for help, everybody should run a brain map on you because it will help you understand a ton of information. The other tool that we want to use is the psychophysiological stress profile. And here we can learn how stress will impact your mind and your brain and how it impacts your body. Meaning we put you through some mildly stressful tasks and we're monitoring your heart rate, we're monitoring your breathing, we're monitoring your muscles. And what that means is that we're looking at how your body is responding to psychological stress, and then how the physical stress that you engage in affects your psychological well-being. And this is possible thanks to this technology. So we're providing to you is a mirror into your mind and a mirror and a window into your body. And as I always say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. This is very impactful for people. When it becomes more evident, when it's in front of them, people can see and understand the importance of working on themselves. When they see brainwave patterns that are affecting their well-being, when they see that their muscle tension is really high, when they can see that their cortisol levels are skyrocketing, it brings about that breakthrough point that we look to achieve. The technology can help you break through that skepticism that clients have sometimes because it's visible for them. They can no longer hide it. They can no longer lie about it. It's very confrontational, but at the same time, it's very empowering and liberating for them. And these assessments are very important, and to me, as a professional, are essential parts of any mental health or well-being assessment. in addition to the aforementioned testing options. And the psychological stress profile and the brain map are very, very thorough and very specific in the amount of information that they provide. So we can break down in limitless amount of ways how your body and your brain are reacting to stress. And we can, through our training and experience, explain that in a language that you can understand as a client. So as a clinician, when you come train with us, what you learn is how to read this, how to interpret it, and how to explain it very proficiently to the client in a language that they can understand and in a language that's going to engage them in seeking your services and getting better. Okay. We can present the information in video with bars, with graphs, but what's important is that we're providing that visual representation of how the body and the brain are responding to things. One of those modalities is respiration. Breathing, it's something that every human being takes for granted. Human beings tend to think that breathing is important so that we don't die, but they fail to understand that breathing goes beyond that. There's more that meets the eye when it comes to breathing in reality. And people don't realize that the process of respiration and heart rate variability biofeedback are essential for resilience to disease and also for being having the ability to overcome physical conditions and even psychological conditions. So what we teach people is how to understand their own breathing by looking at it in a screen. When people are breathing, they will see the pattern on a screen. They will understand that pattern because we explain it to them. And then what they will do is engage in skills. They will learn skills that we teach them and use them in their everyday life. First, we expose them to the technology, and little by little, we withdraw them, we wean them off, if you will, the technology. Because down the road, what we want is for the client, for the patient to learn to do it on their own. It's the equivalent of going to physical therapy and then learning how to do the exercises without the need of the physical therapist or the technology that the physical therapist uses. Is for you to apply the skill in everyday life. So respiratory biofeedback, it's very powerful. And again, it teaches people or it reminds people of the importance of breath work, why breath work should be utilized and performed in a very specific way. And again, you can see this line represents that very well. It's the line that shows the person's breathing pattern. So as they inhale, the line goes up. As they exhale, the line goes down. And with this methodology, we can teach people identify their ideal breathing pattern, something we call the resonant frequency. It's their ideal breathing pattern. Not all of us can breathe at the same pace with the same intensity because we have different fitness levels. We live in different regions of the world. We have different weights. Our metabolic needs are different. So what is important here, and the point I want to bring in this particular slide, and for the rest of the conversation, is really that we can individualize and personalize the intervention. This is not a one-size-fits-all approach. It's tailored to the client's needs, to you and to your needs as a clinician as well. So you can personalize this with your patients, with your clients, and then you can get the outcomes that you want and obviously strengthen those outcomes for lifelong learning. So this is just one of the many the visual representation options that we have with the technology. The person can be breathing and playing a movie, or they can be breathing and playing a video game, and the video game is connected to the breathing patterns. So the learning takes place. Heart rate variability is another biofeedback modality that is directly connected to the respiratory biofeedback. And a week ago, we talked about heart rate variability, but I want to remind you a little bit what it is and why it is important. Heart rate variability is about enhancing and optimizing the connection and the relationship between the heart and the brain. And that means that through respiration, through proper breathing, through healthy breathing, we can impact the heart in a positive way. And once we impact the heart in a positive way, we're going to impact the brain in a positive way. That's what we want to do. So we're enhancing the mind-body connection. And again, heart rate variability has an impact in your overall well-being, in your metabolism, your cardiovascular health, your cerebrovascular health, your ability to fight disease, the strength of your immune response, your cholesterol levels. Even in the brain, it's been found recently that heart rate variability and respiratory biofeedback can help clean the brain from the plaquing associated with neurodegeneration or neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. So if you learn to breathe properly, you're adding another layer of protection. Now, heart rate variability can also be used in peak performance. Some of the conditions that respond very well, where the published evidence is there to support this, are stress. So for stress management, it is excellent. Anxiety, for depression, to optimize your sleep, for asthma, hypertension, pain, some cardiovascular conditions, and obviously for peak performance. Some of your clients will not be necessarily broken or ill when they come to see you. They just want to perform better. You will get an athlete, you will get a CEO, you will get a lawyer, you will get a member of special forces. You may get somebody who's in law enforcement. And what they're looking for is, I want to be better at my job. I want to cope with stress more efficiently. I want to get that edge on the competition. I want to be more resilient when I'm performing. I want to be more self-confident when I'm performing. Well, you can enhance those things with neurofeedback and biofeedback. That's why we use these techniques to add to the layers of skills that the person may have. And again, the interesting thing about this is that we're using the technology. Now, one of the things that I really love about heart rate variability is that you can measure with the technology, with these tools, you can measure the heart and the brain at the same time. And that means, for example, on the left, you see graphs of the behavior and health of the heart and their different emotions. So here we have a simple task. Here we have engaging somebody by feeling angry, getting angry. Here's somebody engaging in a relaxation exercise. And here's somebody engaging in appreciation. So as you can see, different emotions evoke different heart rhythmicities, heart rate patterns in the individual. And then to the right, we can map that in the brain. By looking at the brain, we can see for that individual how anger impacts the brain, what are the brain regions that get impacted, and what that means for the person's well-being. And again, this is not a one-size-fits-all approach, which means that anger doesn't impact everybody the same way in the brain. Depression doesn't impact everybody the same way in the brain. Anxiety doesn't show up the same in the brain. And therefore, once we identify how it particularly impacts your psychophysiological responding and your neurophysiological responding, we have a clear roadmap to the intervention. This is not flying without instruments. This is not flying blind. We have an objective in mind, and now we have a more objective pathway to take to get you there. I like this slide because it provides a very strong visual representation. And what it shows here is the EEG of a client that I worked with some time ago who had a traumatic experience. In the red box, what you see is mu brainwaves. And mu brainwaves is a specific neuromarker or signature, okay, that shows that the client is going into dissociation. Dissociation is part of the trauma response. And in layman's terms means the client is just spacing out. But they're spacing out because they are hypervigilant. And what I'm recording here is the EEG. And at the bottom, you can see these sharp peaks here. That's the EKG. So I'm recording brain activity and heart activity at the same time. This graph here to the left shows the heart rate variability pattern or profile for this individual, and the image to the right is the visual representation of the mu brainwaves. This green dot here and this yellow peak here are showing the intensity, meaning how it is impacting the brain and the body for this particular individual. Now, here's the really beautiful part about this. I had this individual learn how to do coherent breathing, coherent diaphragmatic breathing. And you can see in the red box, that's the mu. He's dissociated. And once he starts engaging in coherent breathing, you can see the same brain region, but you can see the blue box, how the mu starts desynchronizing or disappearing. And that means that we're breaking the dissociation. He is no longer needing to escape by dissociating. And now he's learning to cope with the trauma response more efficiently. But this would have not been possible to be evaluated if we didn't have the technology. So as you can see, using this technology can get you to assess, to train, and then provide objective evidence that your interventions are working. And it's a wonderful thing. Another biofeedback modality is EMG, or electromyography, where we can work with people's muscle responses to help them optimize their well-being. So where is EMG, electromyography biofeedback used? We can use it for pain management. That means we can work hand in hand with other health professionals. I can work hand in hand with a physical therapist, with an osteopath, with a chiropractor. Any kind of rehabilitation professional can use biofeedback, and they can learn how to use biofeedback as well. So for pain management, is very efficient. For injury recovery, an injured athlete, a fracture, any kind of injury that you can think of that is rehabilitated through physical therapy can be aided with EMG biofeedback as well. It can be used in movement research. It can be used for strengthening, for self-regulation. You can teach self-regulation and relaxation with EMG. You can teach somebody how to identify where their muscles are getting tense because they're very stressed out at work, and you can teach them how to cope with that efficiently. And you can use it also for peak performance. Again, athletes, CEOs, musicians, people in the performing arts can benefit from this. And obviously for pelvic floor training, which requires a little bit more of a more specialized kind of work, but it can be implemented in that kind of work as well. This is a snapshot of a video, and this is essentially us. This is me here in Singapore going to a physical therapist office. So she learned, as she heard about my work, she got very interested, and she said, can you come to my office? I can bring a couple of clients, and can we record them while I'm doing a physical therapy session with them? And I said, yeah, of course. And this individual here had a knee injury. It was an ACL rupture. So the anterior cross ligament was ruptured. It's a very painful injury to get. And it's also a very, very extremely painful injury to rehab. And with the help of the physical therapist, we identify the regions where we're going to place the electrodes. So it is not me who's deciding that. It is the professional within her scope of practice who's deciding that. She guides me where to put the electrodes. And here we have an image of what the client is saying. You can see that the lines get bigger here and the line goes up, and that means he's extending the leg. So he's extending the leg and he's engaging those muscles. He will get that response on the screen. When he relaxes the leg and brings it back to the original position, the muscle activation goes down. And through a series of repetitions, the person is learning how to control their pain, the pain and the range of motion. Now, the feedback that we're providing here is mainly visual, but we can provide auditory feedback. And that means when he's engaging the muscles and producing pain, we can use a tone, an aversive tone that is not pleasant to hear. And then as he's relaxing the muscles and he's learning to relax the muscles, we can use a very auditorily appealing tone. We can use birds chirping. We can use the ocean waves crashing into the beach. So we use a pleasant sound to condition that response. And this is just an example of how we can start doing interdisciplinary work. It's a beautiful thing. I used to work for the Colombian Olympic Committee when I was a sports psychologist there before moving to Singapore. And the physical therapists enjoyed working with the neuroscience lab because once they learned what we could do with physical therapy, they started requesting the service more frequently. And what they were finding was that when EMG biofeedback or temperature biofeedback or even neurofeedback was implemented alongside with the rehab, the number of sessions required for the athlete to go back and play their sport was reduced. An average of 5 to 10 physical therapy sessions, which means the athlete was returning to training and competition much sooner than it was expected, with very solid results. And if you think about it, if you have a physical therapist that you're working with and that person can reduce the number of sessions of physical therapy, is going to create self-confidence, is going to optimize their self-esteem, and is going to save them money. So that's a really powerful statement there. Now, we also can do temperature biofeedback. And with temperature biofeedback, most of the time we're teaching people how to increase hand temperature, how to get the hands to get warmer. In general terms, as a rule of thumb, when your hands are colder, you tend to be more stressed, you tend to be more susceptible to stress, anxiety, and obviously some physical ailments. The warmer your hands are, the more resilient you are. So we can teach people how to warm up the hand to work with Raynaud's disease, which is a circulatory condition, with their stress, to treat migraine headaches, to work with their anxiety, to let go. If the person has a trauma response and has difficulty letting go, temperature biofeedback can enhance the process of letting go. It enhances not only physical healing, but it can enhance emotional and psychological healing. And we use it for thermoregulation. We can teach the person how to get warmer or colder depending on what we want to achieve. For anxiety management, for physiological resilience, for psychological resilience, for tissue repairment, for pain management, to treat diabetes, the scars that diabetics get in their feet, we can help them heal those more efficiently. To treat migraines, for self-regulation, for peak performance. So as you can see, we have the clinical side of things, and we also have the peak performance, the performance enhancement side of the equation. So across the board, biofeedback and its different modalities is useful for that. This is just a slide that exemplifies how we can get creative. Usually, when I train temperature biofeedback, one of the ways I will teach the client to warm up the hand is by getting a bucket or a bucket with ice water, and I will have the client submerge the hand, put the hand into the water for a few seconds, so that the blood temperature, the peripheral temperature drops. And then I will connect the sensor to the fingertip, and I will teach them how to warm up the hand. But it's not the process of warming up the hand, it's the engagement of the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system response. When we're working with heart temperature and galvanic skin response, the hand only gets warmer if the client is disengaging, if the person is disengaging the sympathetic branch. So it doesn't matter how much they engage the parasympathetic, if they're not disengaging the sympathetic, meaning letting go, it won't work. It's a very beautiful, powerful tool because, again, the client, the individual, learns to read themselves, and they start learning that they can heal, that they can let go, that they no longer have to be a victim. So they go from being victim to being victor, from being trapped to being empowered. And the cold water is just one simple exercise of many ways you can get creative. So it's very attractive because it's not the same boring, repetitious session time and again. You can get creative and vary the attractiveness of the training so that the client remains engaged. GSR, just like temperature biofeedback, responds when we disengage the sympathetic branch. Very important. essentially, we're working with skin conductance. We're working with the responding of the sweat glands, either at the tip of the finger, as you can see in this picture, or the palm of the hand. And just like temperature biofeedback, we're working with a mind-body connection. And that means it helps with anxiety management, stress management. It helps with stress reduction, with physical and psychological resilience. It's very useful in gastrointestinal conditions, ulcers, irritable bowel syndrome, acid reflux, constipation. The symptoms of those conditions respond very well to GSR, galvanic skin response biofeedback. I've had clients with constipation whom I have helped with GSR biofeedback and some neurofeedback, and they respond very well, where medication wasn't helping, where the traditional medical model wasn't helping. Now, I'm not saying here, and I want to clarify that I'm not saying that I'm curing that, because I always work hand in hand with medical professionals. But the medical professionals that I work with sometimes send me clients whom they have tried to help medically and it's not responding. And when we work with them from the psychophysiological perspective, it starts helping them out. So I'm not saying that biofeedback replaces medicine. You still need to work hand in hand with a medical professional. It's useful for hyperhidrosis, people who sweat profusely, excessively, even if they're not anxious, even if they don't live in hot weathers. And obviously peak performance, so the performance enhancement side of the scale. Temperature and skin conductance are the two most revealing psychophysiological responses of a person's psychological vulnerability to stress. If you want to assess an individual's psychological vulnerability to stress, look at their skin conductance and look at their peripheral temperature. And training those two modalities teaches mental toughness. So the end result is that the client learns mental toughness. They become really resilient to stress and adverse conditions in life. This again is just a snapshot of how the software will present. This is a very basic screen. We can utilize more advanced screens as we get better at what we do. But essentially, it's showing the skin conductance here when we are recording at baseline. The person is not doing anything. Then we stress them out, and you can see the increase in the response, meaning the body's responding to stress, and then we see how they recover. And again, you can use this in the office. You can use this in the lab. You can take the client to the office and record them while they're in a meeting, if you can do that. You can take the athlete to the competition and record them before the competition, if you are allowed to do that. So biofeedback is not confined to the office. It's not confined to the clinic. You can take it inside and do more realistic recordings and interventions, which it's, again, no other tool, no other modality provides you the ability to do that. Now that we've talked about biofeedback, and I know that most of you will be interested, it's in our best interest to help you and guide you on how to become board certified. One thing is to learn it. Another thing is to do it proficient. And being in the field for 15 years, I can attest to the importance of becoming board certified. So how do you become board certified? Well, the first thing you need to take is the didactic course. And the didactic course you can take through Successful Practitioner. In the next slides, I will share their information on how you can contact them. So you take the didactic course, you of course buy equipment, and we can guide you through that process as well. You can get mentored. We have a team of excellent mentors with lots of experience, hours and hours, thousands of hours in the field. You do some mentoring, and then you take the exam, and you're on your merry way of helping people. So it's a very straightforward path that may look confusing or stressful. But that's why Kelly Feely from Successful Practitioner is here for. He will guide you through the process. He will make it very easy for you to understand, and he will ease your concerns. So there's different levels of certification. And again, when you look at the information from BCIA, the governing organization, there's different levels of certification. If you talk to us, we will based on your educational credentials and educational experience, tell you which path you need to take, what kind of certification you're going to get. You can get certified as a professional, you can get certified as a technician, you can get certified as a beginner. And depending on your state and scope of practice and licensure, your certification will be different. But then again, Kelly from Successful Practitioner and Dr. Ingram and InMindOut are very helpful with that process. So what solutions and services do we have? Well, we offer the certification course. We offer the didactic courses in biofeedback, neurofeedback, and QEEG brain mapping. Okay. And again, we have an excellent team of instructors with lots of experience. Again, you can get help in getting the equipment. Depending on your budget, Kelly can help you buy the best equipment in the market. Kelly can connect you to the mentors. If you are interested in getting board certified, you're going to need mentorship, and he can connect you with the mentor you're going to have the best rapport with. And then Kelly in InMindOut, a Successful Practitioner, will also help you on how to integrate this to your business, how to create a successful business model, how to get your marketing right, how to get your target niche, how to get clients through the door, and of course, how to make this a more profitable business. Because most of the time when you take a course or you take a training, you take the course and then you're sent home. And you have more questions than answers. That's what happened to me when I first started 15 years ago. If 15 years ago I had met Kelly and Kelly was with Successful Practitioner, my path through the field would have been more efficient and less stressful. But now there's Kelly and there's InMindOut and there's a Successful Practitioner for that very purpose. Just contact us. We have a list of pricing. We have a list of vendors that can provide you with the best equipment, the list of mentors that can help you out. They also guide you with billing and insurance. Here in Singapore, I do private pay, so I don't have to worry about that. But I know that mostly in the US and Canada, you have billing codes and insurance codes. That can get mighty confusing. And that's what we're here to help with as well. Create a new website, use social media for your marketing, just become better at attracting new clients. We know that biofeedback and neurofeedback are very, very useful tools. We invite you to this wonderful world. It will change your life, and it will change the life of the people you work with. Here's how you can get in touch with a Successful Practitioner. The website is successful-practitioner.com. And here you have Kelly's email. The website, again, successfulpractitioner.com, and the phone number where you can do that. The neat thing is that you can schedule a free 25-minute consultation. So if you schedule a consultation with Kelly for 25 minutes, he will answer your questions to the best of his ability and get you on the right track. I want to thank you for your participation. I want to thank Successful Practitioner and InMindOut for allowing me to present once more. And we hope to see you soon in our courses. Have a good night, everybody, and enjoy the rest of the week.